Hello and welcome back to the Macca's Talk Hockey podcast, the podcast where me and my brother Charlie talk about English ice hockey. We're joined again by Dan. Dan, thanks for joining.
No worries. Thank you for having me.
We also have an interview with Bailey Perre, which is a really good one. He talked about last season with the Knights, his career so far. He's only 19 years old, and he's won the playoffs in the league. It's a really good interview, so we'll get to that in a bit. Charlie, you all right today?
Yeah. I'm not too bad. Quite tired with work, but sadly I couldn't make the Bailey Perre interview this week, guys. I will be making all the other interviews. It was just work's quite busy, and Bailey can only do Monday, and I'm very busy on Monday.
Yeah.
So
we're trying to get a schedule. We're trying to get a schedule out so we can arrange all the interviews and stuff so we can both do them. But yeah, we'll get that sorted. Shall we crack on straight into the news? I've written a few little pieces down. The first one being Jordan Buesa joining the Leeds Knights on a two-way with Glasgow. And last night he scored 2 goals against his former team, Sheffield. Dan, we'll come to you first. An absolutely huge signing for Leeds, which, wow, they're going to be really hard to beat, aren't they?
Yeah, they're going to be hard to beat again. They're just relentless in their forward positions. I think that signing at this point of the season as well is still early, so he's still going to bag a lot of points.
Yeah.
And they're definitely going to benefit from it. I don't think they needed another forward, but adding another forward is just going to make them even better.
Well, we talked about in our predictions way before the season started about how is there going to be players which are going to be able to come in and replace the likes of Cole Shudra, who went off, Adam Barnes, and they've brought in Jordan Buesa, who got 56 points in 38 games for Sheffield last season. Charlie, I'll come to you next. A massive signing for them. And do you think that's going to be the real surge to help them get all of the trophies?
I actually disagree with Dan. I did think they needed one more forward, and I think they found that gap. Last year, for me, they had a top 6, which got them through games. And I think Ollie did a really, really good in their top 6. But adding Buesa into that top 6, number one, gives them more depth. So if one of their top guys does get injured, they have still got 5 top guys. And number 2, this guy scored 59 points in 31 games, did you say?
Yeah, 56 points. So nearly a point per game, just under.
No, more than a point a game. He only played 37 games, didn't he?
38 games, 38. Oh, sorry, yeah. More than a point per game. I mean, more, just less than 2 points per game. Sorry, my bad.
And that was for not a defensive Sheffield team, but a Sheffield team which isn't fully focused on attack. In a Leeds Knights team, I see Jordan Buesa picking up 2 points a game. And that is the type of signing where MK are going to be going, oh, for goodness sake, they've done it again. How are they doing this?
But
the
go on.
Signing where Leeds, last year, Leeds' defence has improved, in my opinion. They've got the same goalie, and now their attack's getting very close to what it was last year. They're going to be so hard to beat.
But I was going to say, MK fans I don't think they can moan about Leeds getting in players because they get in so many players during the season. They've just picked up a D-man in Archie Salisbury, who's one of the best young talents in the league. So if Leeds want to try and get the treble, which they weren't able to get last season, I think Jordan Buesa is the perfect signing for that. And he's playing on that top line, the 3 Bs. You got Barron, Brown and Buesa, and they're going to absolutely destroy so many teams. So yeah, a huge signing for Leeds. Another bit of news, it's a bit different. I saw online that the NIHL Department of Player Safety were looking for 2 workers/helpers to help sort these bans out. So I think that's quite interesting. And Dan, I think it should be 2 maybe ex-players coming onto it because they know a bit more about the game.
Yeah, I don't think it should be anyone that's sort of no stranger to the game. I think it has to be someone who's had a history of it.
Yeah,
because it's such a the bands that they have to look at is so like hard to judge.
They're specific,
aren't they? If you haven't played the game, it's very hard to sort of see the difference between, say, it was a good check or a bad check.
Yeah.
But yeah, it has to be someone who's had history with the game.
Charlie, do you agree with that? Do you think it has to be an ex-player who can kind of see both sides of it and can understand maybe if it's a big check, the person it's against and the person who's actually committed the check? Do you agree?
Personally, I think they should be bringing in paid people and not volunteers. I think if you want the best possible outcome for a league, in my opinion, which keeps improving, I think you need to offer a bit of money towards even potentially people in America, people who know what they're talking about, people who are really familiar with the game of hockey, because it'll be lovely having volunteers, and I can respect that. But you will always get a better job when you put money in. And this league is having silly bans, in my opinion, bans which shouldn't be what they are, or bans which are too many games or too little games.
Yeah.
And they're not being fair and judgmental, that it affects the hockey we're watching. Yeah. And I think putting money into potentially adding these people, even if it's just a small bit to add that professional side to the league, I think it's important. But if they do get volunteers, I think ex-players who still in the coaching game of some sort would be very important.
Yeah, who's got no bias to it as well, because you don't want any bias. And fair play for them for coming out and saying we need some new people, because there was a few people on Twitter saying they need some actual ex-players, and they've come out. So hopefully they get the right people. And the last bit of news before we get on to our little news we've got is Sheffield have released some new ticket prices. Sheffield for an adult, £10 for an adult, £5 for a child. However, I think this screws over season ticket holders who got the season ticket before the new owners come in. But yeah, either way, that's really good pricing for tickets, isn't it, Dan? Especially because you're looking at £18 for an adult ticket for every other team.
Yeah, especially when you're rivaling against the Sheffield Steelers that are just across the road. So getting fans in is obviously going to be a hardship for the Steel Dogs.
Yeah.
So I think dropping down the price, I think, is a very good move for them. Because getting more fans in is always going to be good.
Yeah,
better
Charlie.
Atmosphere, better game night experience.
Yeah. You took the words out my mouth there. Sheffield's one of the nicest stadiums in the league, and it'll be nice to see the whole rink full up and just bouncing on a hockey night, wouldn't it, Charlie?
Yeah, just getting people through the door. They play some good hockey. The National League keeps improving, and it's always going to be a tough situation in Sheffield. But having the ticket prices lower means it's affordable for families, and for away fans, it's lovely. A tenner for a ticket instead of spending 18 quid. I'm not going to complain.
Yeah, it's really affordable, and fair play to the new Sheffield owners for doing that. I think it will be beneficial because they'll get more people through the door. So yeah, fair play to Sheffield and the owners. The final bit of news isn't to do with the league, it's to do with us three. We forgot to mention it in the last one. We are actually going on a trip to New York. Charlie, do you want to talk about it a bit more briefly?
Yeah, so I was the one who brought up the idea. I was going to go to New York by myself, but these two said, we're coming, I'm coming. But we are going to New York in December. We'll be missing the Solway Sheffield away games, which sucks, but we're going to Solway soon anyway, me and Dan.
And me, I'm going as well.
You're going? Oh yeah, and Jack. Sorry. And we will be going to New York, and we'll be spending 4 full days there. And on 3 of them days, we're watching hockey because we are hockey fans, you could say. And we're watching New York Rangers versus Los Angeles, New York Rangers versus Toronto, and New York Islanders versus Toronto. So lots of exciting things. Yeah. And I'm going to try do a cheeky little vlog of the whole experience.
We'll try and get a vlog, and we'll try and get that on the YouTube as well. I think that'll be pretty cool. And Dan, you're a Toronto fan as well. 2 Toronto games. I bet you're glad you're coming on this little trip.
I can't wait. Yeah. That's what pulled my arm. Is when I heard about the Toronto Maple Leafs. That's what made me want to go.
And you're going to Sweden as well the month before and watching 2 Toronto games. So you're going to be watching 4 Toronto games in less than 2 months.
So I'm not a Swindon fan anymore. I'm just a Maple Leafs fan. All right.
Yeah, we're absolutely buzzing. We'll try and get some sort of content when we're there. Me and Charlie have never been to America. We've never seen an NHL game either. I know you've watched a few, Dan. So yeah, we're absolutely buzzing for that. But yeah, should we get into the results then from the weekend? And we're going to start with the games which we went to, because all 3 of us went to the Swindon-Bristol Derby doubleheader. And it was a game of 2 halves, as they say in football. The Saturday, it was Bristol all over us, and the Sunday it was Swindon all over us. Charlie, do you want to briefly summarise it?
Yeah, I'll briefly summarise the weekend, and then we'll go into our players.
Yeah, I've got a couple of talking points on it as well.
And I think the Swindon players will agree with me. We were pants on Saturday and very good on Sunday, But Bristol were really, really good on Saturday. And I think I want to focus in on that because Swindon's performance, Aaron now said it the best. It was quite embarrassing. We couldn't get going. We couldn't get passing and nothing worked for us. No. But Bristol, it was the best puck possession I've seen them have as a team since they've come into the National League. The way they passed the puck, the way they kept it in our zone and pinned us in was very good. And they looked like a dominant team. Yeah. And whenever we got beat by Bristol last season, I always felt like they counterattacked us and they caught us on the break and they got them scrappy goals. Whereas I felt they thoroughly deserved to beat us on that Saturday night and they dominated us. They kept us in our zone and they played really well. And then it flipped on the Sunday where we did the same thing today. And you could see that
we had to win that game on the Sunday, didn't we?
You could see the frustration from the Swindon Wildcats, and you could see the tiredness from Bristol from the performance they put in the night before. And from a Swindon fan, I'm a bit disappointed we didn't get 4 points, but I can give credit to the opponents of Bristol. And I'll tell you the two players who stood out to me later, but Bristol were really, really good on the Saturday night.
From a neutral fan's point of view, Dan, Bristol really impressive on the Saturday. And I think, Swindon just had to win on the Sunday and they dominated on that Sunday. But credit to Bristol on the Saturday, wasn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I think Swindon, obviously, I think the game before just pushed them harder for the next day.
Yeah.
I think you matched their energy on the second game.
Yeah.
I think that was the biggest problem on the Saturday was you just couldn't do anything against the young Bristol team. And that's obviously what they're always going to have the advantage of is their age. They're a really young and fiery team.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
if they get going, you're never going to stop them. and
Ben Norton was class as well in goal on Saturday.
Yeah, it's the first time I've seen him this season, and he looked really good, especially for his age as well. You wouldn't think it.
Exactly.
He's got a bright future.
I was going to bring up the referees. Now, we love Irons and Matthews as people, and I just thought some of them were penalties, and I think some of them were harsh penalties for both sides as well. This is not just a bias to Swindon or a bias to Bristol. I just think it slowed the games down Saturday and Sunday. I think there was so many penalties called. No team could properly get into a game and they couldn't get back at the other team. And I think it just slowed the game down. Do you prefer games, Charlie, where they just let it flow a bit and unless it's a really obvious call, especially in a derby as well?
I was frustrated on Saturday night, and then even on Sunday, I can say I felt a lot of the calls went our way at times.
Yeah.
But on Saturday, especially, I wasn't too happy with the refs. I'm not someone to bring it up because
Bristol deserved to win either way.
Talking, but it felt like the tone was set in the first 10 minutes of the game. It was we're going to call every little penalty, and then. For me as a fan, and this is just from a fan's point of view, not a ref's point of view, when you call them little slashes or them, like they called a cross-checking in front of the goal on a power play because they were battling in front of the goal. And for me, when you call these little penalties, it means you set a tone for the game. Whereas if you don't call them when Bristol go hard on the boards or Bristol slash someone's stick or Bristol cross-check someone, I get frustrated because it's like, well, you called a light penalty over there, but not there. So if you call light penalties, you got to call it all around. Whereas if you don't call light penalties, you don't have to call them. And it just felt like it slowed the game down and it just made every decision seem controversial. But like I said, I love Irons and Matthews. I just felt like that game didn't really flow very nicely.
Yeah.
And I felt like a lot of the calls were quite questionable.
I think in terms of us trying to get back into a game, we gave away some silly penalties. Completely understand that. But when it's constantly penalty killing or they're on a power play, it can slow the game down, Dan. Do you agree as a neutral?
Yeah, obviously, as a fan of the Bison, obviously the Bees and Bison derbies are always the game to watch. And they're always fiery as well, and you always want the game to flow. Really, you never want it to stop, and you let the little things go. Obviously, call the obvious things, and that's what you want. That's what you want from the game.
Yeah.
But I do agree on both games. It was a bit chippy with the reffing. It was
we're not
on and off.
We're not having a go at Matthews and Irons because at the end of the day, they're doing their job. We're not saying they're bad referees, but I think in terms of it being a derby game, we would just liked it to flow a bit more, and maybe some of the calls are a bit soft. But we're not saying it was biased to either team. Should we move on then away from Swindon? We'll go on to Leeds, who got.
No.
Go on.
I have to mention two
quickly
players
because we've got to get through them.
Tanner Butler, he's a joke of a D-man. He's one of the best in the league.
Yeah, he was class.
I said after watching him one game, he's sick. And then shout out to a guy, I know he watched the pod, Sean Morris. He actually had a really good weekend. And I've said before, he was one of my questions. And he did actually stand out to me. He blocked, I think, 9 shots on the Saturday night.
And he worked really hard.
He did the penalties. He worked his bum off and did what you want a third liner to do. So I wanted to give a shout out because apparently listened to the pod and I said he wasn't that great. But I like giving credit when they play well, and he played really well, and shout out to him.
Yeah, he was solid on the Saturday, and you said he stood out, and he really did with Ben Norton. I thought was very good. And quickly on Corrick, I know we're going on to this game a lot, but it's the one we watched. Nick Corrick, I think, maybe I'm a bit biased because we've watched him, but I think in the circle on the corner, he's one of the best in the league, if not the best, at just ripping it in the top corner, isn't he, Dan? He scored so many goals on that power play from both sides where he just rips it into the top corner and the keeper's just got no chance.
Yeah, because I did say, I think to both of you, I said he's not really got a game. He's just sort of good at everything.
Yeah.
And you just seem to notice it from that shot on the high circle. It's just always a goal.
We just turned around and went, fair play. That is a good goal. There's nothing you can do about that. But yeah, fair play. But the points were shared in the derby. I'm sure we'll have some big battles, especially back when the Link Centre's back open. Leeds, 4-point weekend, 4-1 victory over Bees on the Saturday and a 7-3 victory over Solway on the Sunday. And it was quite close for the first 2 periods on against Solway. But yeah, they ran away with it in the third period. I just wanted to mention this as well. Kieran Brown, 27 points in 10 games. He's nearly on 3 points a game. Can he get to that 3-point a game mark, Charlie, and get over 160 points by the end of the season?
You two didn't predict him to get top point scorer in the league.
We said Herbert.
Mate, the kid's another level. Maybe not Malazinski level, but another level.
Here we go.
But Kieran Brown is the best point scorer in the National League. And it just gets silly, doesn't it? Yeah. Like, just gets points. Like, I remember when he was in Bristol and he was having a rough game. And I think he bagged a hat-trick in the third period. And I'm like, his shot is a joke. His pass is a joke. And his positioning is a joke. And them 3 things combined equal a lot of points.
Yeah, they're rolling at the top of the league, and they won last night as well against Sheffield. Very comfortable, another 4-1 victory. Defensively, they just look so solid, even after losing Sammy Zajac and Archie Hazeldine. Bo Neely as well looks especially good, doesn't he, Dan?
Yeah, I really liked him. I noticed him when I went and watched the MK Leeds game the other week, and I noticed him again when I watched Swindon v Leeds. I think he's a really good skater, and I think he carries the puck up the ice really well. Yeah. And that's what you want from a D-man, especially in Leeds. I think having an offensive D-man like that with the forwards, I think is a really good pairing.
100%.
It just creates a lot of points.
Yeah, and they've only got one game this weekend, so they can just work for that one game. And I have no doubts they'll probably win that game. On to the Bees then. They did lose to Leeds, but they got a massive win against the Seahawks, and that was Seahawks' only game of the weekend. 4-3, Gabaj and Balaz both scoring again. It's just becoming a regular thing.
What? How did that happen? What?
I just wanted to read this out, though, because I've got a question for you, lads. Gabaj, 26 points in 10 games. Balaz, 24 points in 10 games. And then after that, you've got Stuart Mogg, who's doing really well, 11 points. But the third highest point scoring attacker is Dougherty. Charlie, you said in the last podcast, could that be a little problem going in further into the season if teams can somehow figure out how to stop Gabaj and Balaz? Because there is a big points difference for the third place.
Well, for me, I didn't expect Bees to be in the first place. And if they do drop off a bit, I don't actually think it's the end of the world. They've just got to keep winning home games.
Yeah.
That's what they've got to keep doing. they are in a great position and they're playing really well. And I have to mention, someone had a go at me for calling him garbage, when his name's Dominic Gabai. But I butcher every name, so I'm going to keep calling him that.
Gabadge. I call him Gabadge. So sorry, it's probably Gabai, yeah. But yeah, they're so good, Dan. Do you think they can keep it up? I have no doubts they are, because defensively, especially with Brython Priest, I think he got man of the match again on Sunday. Yeah, defensively they look really sound as well. And if Gabai and Ballas can just keep going at it, there's no reason why they can't get playoffs this season.
Yeah, no, they definitely have a shot at it. I think they've got Harvey Stead out as well at the moment, so that's obviously a big loss to the D. Obviously he's a big guy for them. He's been with them for a while now.
Yeah.
I did say it in our first podcast before the season started that their firepower. I still stand by that. I think obviously it's their top line that's firing on all cylinders, but as you see by the stats, it's not really following down the lines.
Yeah.
And I think that could be a problem as the season goes on. But you never know in this league. It could
keep
go
rolling with
way.
it. Yeah, keep rolling with it as well.
They're not going to change anything.
Exactly. And another team who's doing really well now, the Peterborough Phantoms, they had a tough start. They lost their opening 3 games, but they got a big 4-point weekend this weekend, beating Sheffield 5-3 and the Raiders 7-5. They're scoring a lot of goals. And Bjorkley Nordstrom, Charlie, we had a little debate at the weekend, but he's got 9 points in 5 games, I think it is. They look really good, and they're starting to click now. They've got their 3 lines. You said they needed that third import, and they've got that third import. And I think they're going to be a wagon going into the end of the season, Charlie.
Yeah, that Nordstrom's surprising me. I watched him. I watched him play, obviously. I didn't think he was bad. I just thought he was a typical Slava import where he'd do well. And 9 points is no mess about.
He got our player of the week as well. 3 goals and 1 assist this weekend.
That's the biggest award you can win this season. Yeah, Peterborough are really good. They've almost swapped. Not that their defense is playing bad. I can't really judge. I haven't watched, but they're conceding a lot more goals, but they're scoring loads.
Yeah. Slava flicked a switch and he's reversed it.
Yeah, Slava hockey's boring, they say, but Slava hockey bags 7. So yeah, they're not doing too bad. They are not doing too bad. And players like Slavkovsky, Susters, Ferrara, they've got some naughty attackers on that.
They've got some juicy lines. And Dan, it is weird how it's switched, because he's been so focused on the defensive hockey. I'm not saying their defenders are bad at all, but it looks like they are playing on the front foot quite a lot more this season, and they're getting rewarded with that. They're the second top goal scorers in the league with 50 goals so far. Yeah, they look deadly in attack, don't they?
Yeah, I'm wondering, obviously I don't know, but I'm wondering if before the season started, with obviously all the forwards that are coming into this league, I'm wondering if Slava's sort of changed his style up a bit. He can't be so passive. He has to start scoring goals.
That's a good point,
I think this season, you have to score more than the opponent, obviously.
Yeah.
But obviously with the firepower that's coming into this league, you can't afford to just sit on these leads. You've got to keep going. You can't stop.
Yeah.
You can't let leads go and stuff like that.
That's a really good point.
More competitive and a lot more.
And bringing in the likes of Ferrara, bringing in Bjorkley Nordstrom and Slavkovsky, who's a very good point scorer, they can beat teams a lot, and they've beaten the Raiders and Sheffield by good amounts as well. Sorry. We're moving on to Telford then. They got 2 points this weekend. They won on the Saturday, and they narrowly lost to MK on the Sunday. But they've picked up a new import, and that's the one I wanted to focus on. Jaden Pecker. Now, he's played in the OHL for 4 years, and he had 3 years in the U Sports League. Charlie, you looked him up before the podcast. A very nice pickup, again, by Tom Watkins.
Yeah, it's a good import. Reminds me lots of like Colby, Gomesic, players like that who've come from the U Sports. They're going to do a really good job. And one thing Tom Watkins demands is hard work. And from seeing all the U Sports players, they work hard.
Yeah.
And this Telford team's rolling, and they've just had 2 imports come back in. And so, again, the National League teams just don't want to lose, and every team is good. So if you're not on your game, you do lose. And so Telford are just a very good team. They're a very good outfit, and they just need as many goals from as many different lines as they can. And adding another import in, I think, gives them that 3 lines. So I really like it.
Before the season, Dan, we were a bit sceptical on Telford because obviously they had a few players move on. You had Silverthorne leave, who was a massive piece to their puzzle. You had Herman leave as well, who was immense in that back half of the season. And we were wondering whether they'd be able to carry that on. But why did we think to doubt Tom Watkins? Because he has done an absolutely fantastic job so far with the struggles they've had with players getting bans and not having a third import. The players are stepping up and they're buying into how he wants to play, aren't they?
I mean, there's a reason why I put him in a playoff spot in my prediction, because I always said Tom Watkins just makes it happen all the time. He never ever gives up on a team, and that's what makes him such a good coach. He never gives up on his youngsters, never gives up on his top lines. He's just a fair coach, and he's one of the best.
Yeah, exactly that. And they're going to be looking for revenge this weekend. We'll go into it in the second half of the podcast. Just before we get into the interview of Bailey, not a great weekend for Sheffield, not getting any points this weekend. And Raiders, they managed to get 1 point. They lost in overtime. And the Seahawks, they had one game this weekend, which they did lose to the Bees. Solway as well. Sorry, we've got to mention Solway. They had a very tricky weekend, probably the hardest weekend you can get. Leeds Knights at home and MK away. They did battle against the Knights, though, Charlie, didn't they? They gave them a good game up until that third period.
Yeah, Solway, I wasn't expecting too much. I think they did what they could have. They put up a battle, and then Brown became Brown. The team I was going to talk about was Sheffield.
Yeah,
if you don't.
Yeah, that's fine. Go into it.
They're struggling a little bit at the moment, and I think it's because of firepower, in terms of just trying to get the puck in the net. Like Danson, I thought it was a really good point actually. The forwards have just got better in this league, so defensive teams are naturally going to concede a little more. And as much as I really do highly rate Sheffield's defense, you have to score in this league now. Yeah. And I think that's just becoming a little bit of an issue for them. I'll bite my words because they'll put 7 past Swindon. But
oh yeah, we got one Sunday. Oh no, spoke too soon.
But I think they're just struggling at the moment to put the puck in the net. At the moment, it seems like it's just Bissonnette at the moment, scoring with Phillips as well. But as soon as you can get Hewitt, Phillips, Vlad, Brammer, these boys on the score sheet, I think Sheffield will be back in the points. They're looking for goals at the moment for sure.
Dan, do you think maybe not having that third import is a little bit of a problem? Because most of the other teams, apart from I think Bees, have 3 imports because Peterborough have obviously brought in Bjorkley Nordstrom now. So do you think maybe they are missing out on that firepower of that third import?
Yeah, I think they are. Also, they've lost some good Brits as well. Obviously, in Bonner, he was a good point scorer.
Boycer, who's now at Leeds.
Yeah, and I think having that one import slot missing is going to be a big loss in this league, I think.
Yeah,
especially this season.
100%, but it is the National Ice Hockey League and anything can happen. And I don't doubt Sheffield for a second because they are an underrated team of this league for the past few years. Lads, should we get into the interview then? And after we'll look a bit towards the fixtures this weekend and we'll have a look at the table as well.
Yeah.
Let's get into the interview. It was a cracker with Bailey. Hello, welcome back. I'm delighted to be joined by Leeds Knights defenseman Bailey Perre. Bailey, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
First of all, how was it to score your first league goal for Leeds at the weekend? I saw it on the highlights and you gave a good celly as well.
Yeah, you don't really find me that far up the ice very often. Yeah. So when I saw no one was going to the net, I thought I might as well. And Matty slung one across and I just was able to get under it and chip it over his shoulder. So
yeah.
Obviously, you could see I was excited to score that one.
Yeah.
But just even better in front of the fans.
Yeah.
Just, what was it? I think it was 1-1 at that point.
Yeah, big goal it was.
To put us ahead, it felt great.
And a big 4-point weekend for you lot. I know Swindon got one over you on the weekend before, but how important was it to get 4 points this weekend?
Yeah, definitely. We'll always be in that race with MK. Saw that last season. This season, it's looking the same. Yeah. So to come out of weekends with 4 points, it's great to just keep us head in that race.
Yeah, exactly that. And it's going to be a really big battle at the top of the table. It's looking a lot closer than last season as well. So I wanted to go back to the start then of your career, and you came through the OHA. It's mad that you're still 19, but you came through the OHA. Do you want to talk us how you got into the OHA system?
Swindon born and bred. So if you're at Swindon Academy, OHA has always been there.
Yeah.
And I was just looking for more ice, better opportunities. So OHA was the best route for me.
Yeah, it's changed quite a bit, I think, recently. It's not quite like it used to be. And yeah, just how good was the actual experience? Because you were getting on the ice all the time, weren't you?
Yeah, every day before school, ice, gym. It was being a professional, but still being a student athlete, you know?
Yeah.
So on the ice, in the gym every day. So many experiences. We went to Canada twice. Played in Penticton in British Columbia, and then Whitby in Ontario.
Yeah.
It was just a whole new world.
Do you think that was the perfect route for you to go down, so you were ready to play in that men's hockey?
100%. The mentality over in Canada and stuff like that, it's so different to like junior hockey in the UK. Yeah. So obviously OHA was Canadian brought over to the UK.
Yeah.
And it brought that same sort of mentality to the program. So the professionalism behind it.
Yeah, exactly that. You came out of OHA, and talk us through your moves, because you played a few times for the Swindon main team, but I think they had a pretty solid team at the time.
Yeah.
And you made the decision with quite a few boys like Ollie. I think Josh came eventually as well. Mason, Jay, you all went to Bristol. Was that basically just to get used to the men's league, get more ice time?
Yeah, so once OHA folded from the under-18s league, I went back to Swindon under-18s.
Yeah.
And it just, I was playing Swindon under-18s, Swindon National League 2, Bristol National League 1, and a little bit of the Swindon men's team. And
it says on your 4 teams in one season.
Yeah, I thought maybe 4 teams might be a bit too much. So I went primarily NIHL 2, NIHL 1, with the priority being NIHL 1. And that was at the sort of start of the season. And then, like a couple of weeks in, I felt more established with the Bristol Pitbulls in NIHL 1. So I went there sort of full time.
Yeah.
And then it was more of a, like, come December time, it was more NIHL 1, 2A with the Wildcats.
Yeah.
Sort of. So
just playing loads of games.
Yeah, I just wanted to get as much ice time as I could. So that was the best way to do it.
And then talk us through it, because you came off that season, obviously playing for all them teams. You played 21 times for Bristol. Talk us through the move to Leeds, because they were up and coming team, coming back into the league. Did Aldridge get straight in touch with you?
So it was, although OHA folded, we still had a few early morning trainings, about 3 days a week.
Yeah.
Ryan ran those sessions.
Yeah.
So he was always watching and just sort of, you know, and when he secured the job up here in Leeds after his couple months coaching in replacement of Dave Whistle, he asked me if I wanted to come with him, and he's been coaching me all the way through OHA and that sort of funny four team year.
Yeah.
So I thought he's the best coach I've ever had, so stick with it.
And did you have to move all the way from Swindon up to Leeds? So you permanently moved to Leeds?
Yeah, I'm staying in the team apartments. Last year it was with Grant Cooper and then Jake Witowski. Wow. Yeah, I know. Good company. So but this year it's with Josh Adkins.
Yeah. Oh, nice. He seems like he's got off the mark quite well so far this season.
Yeah, he's doing great.
Last season then, talk us through it, because you were only 18 years old, and Leeds won the playoffs, you won the league, you nearly won the cup as well. For an 18-year-old, that is probably the perfect start to a career you can ask for, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not what you expect going into your first men's season.
Yeah.
But it was just a great experience. I started off, I was a bit shy, you know, I didn't really know any of the guys. I just packed up and moved up north into a brand new sort of environment. But once I started to know the guys, I started to warm up a bit. And it was good. I was sort of on the lower end of the defenseman, like sort of bottom three.
Yeah.
And then once Sammy got injured, I felt like I took on a bit more responsibility going into the second half of the season, where I was playing more PK and I was on the ice with Jordan Griffin more, sort of on the first line, second line. So just starting Coventry weekend in front of all those fans, it was just a great experience.
Yeah. Oh, you talked about Zajac obviously getting injured and you getting your big opportunity to play in those big games. And I've got to say, I thought you smashed it. I think you're a defenseman who probably Swindon were crying out for, and you've really settled into Leeds. Just how is it playing with the likes of Cole Shudra, Kieran Brown? You had Cooper come up as well. I know he went to Belfast, but playing with all those big players around you, did that help you in training, being able to play against those guys?
Yeah, definitely. Last season this season as well, we've got loads of skillful guys. You know, like we brought in Mac. He's just outrageous.
He's disgusting.
Kieran Brown, he's like, every time I step up against him, I'm like, oh, here we go. But yeah, like last season, although young, Brownie was our captain. Great leadership, you know. And then we had the vet guys, of course. We have Matty Hayward, Sammy Zajac.
Yeah.
Although like Sammy wasn't like a or whatever, it was great leadership all the way through. And then even when Sammy got injured, he was still around the team, helping us young guys out, because we had like me, Dylan. Well, all our defensemen apart from him were under the age of 25.
Exactly, yeah.
So having Sammy's presence just in and around the room was just great to learn from.
And how nice is it to have Gospel behind you as well? In there, he is just an absolute joke.
Yeah, he's a bit of a cheat code for us. It's like having Vasilevsky back there, but he's great with us young guys. He's always, you might like on streams, you'll see me once the play's blown down, I'll go speak to him. He'll tell me what he liked, what he didn't like, communication.
Yeah.
And he's great with the young guys, especially at the back, trying to talk to us defensemen the whole time. Yeah. But he's just great understanding. He knows that like I'm 19, so I'm gonna mess up a few times, but he's really understanding.
I was gonna ask then, so obviously the playoffs, and you got to the Coventry final, and you were a very young team. You were missing Zajac as well. What kind of things was Aldridge saying as a team? Because there were many ups and downs within the game. I think the Raiders come back, and then you went ahead a bit, and then they came back. What was he doing to try and calm the team down in them big moments?
He was just there's moments like that. If you don't sort of come out winning, you're gonna you might not have the opportunity again.
Yeah.
So he's saying like opportunities like this don't come very often. So you don't want to give up on it now. You know, just keep pushing through.
Yeah.
The game was quite tight the whole way through, but we were able to push through to get the win in the end. And he was just reinforcing that. Just don't give up, because you're going to regret it if you do.
Exactly. And how was it at the end? You probably can't put it into words, but how was it in front of all those Leeds Knights fans and all the other teams around in the stadium as well, lifting that trophy, and you were only 18 years old at the time?
Yeah, it's a great feeling, you know, like moving up to Leeds, there's a lot of sacrifice, you know, spending time away from family, loved ones, girlfriends, especially like same situation with Ollie.
Yeah.
Same boat. So a lot of sacrifice goes into it. And to be able to have something to show that is just a great feeling.
Yeah.
And to have that many fans come, we sold out the block, and you lift that trophy and they're all screaming your name. It's just unreal feeling.
Yeah, Hopefully Swindon can get there one day. We have a bit of a playoff curse. Going into this season then, because you did lose Cole Shudra. You lost a couple more players as well. I can't think of off the top of my head. Barnes as well, who was very good for Leeds. Going into this season, he's brought in the likes of Gregor Mills. He's obviously brought up Finley Braden and gone with a lot more young players. And a lot of fans, I guess, online, including myself, are a bit cautious of whether you guys would be able to replicate it. And so far this season, you've done very well. What kind of things has Aldridge done as a coach for you guys to stay motivated after winning last season?
We just we've got the same sort of core group. Pieces always are going to move in and out every season. You know, Cole moved on to the Steelers. Sheffield, he's always been around Sheffield, following his dad's footsteps. Barnes, he's gone back home, like, completely understandable. Great for him. And you know, we got some young guys. Gregor, he's didn't have as much ice time at the sort of the first few games.
Yeah.
But now we've sort of settled into it. He's been getting some good ice time. And
he scored at the weekend as well, didn't
he? Last night against Solway. So now he's getting some more ice time. He's really starting to thrive. Good battler. We got Finn. He usually stays in my apartment on the weekends. So I'm always sat around in. And he's just great hands. He's always flying about. But we did lose that sort of older guys, and we brought the younger guys in.
Yeah.
So
what does that say about Aldridge trusting the younger guys? And obviously he brought you in your first season in NIHL, and he's brought in so many youngsters. I know Mac's talented, but he's a youngster. He's brought in Gregor, as you said. What does that say about his trust for these young players?
Ryan's always had trust in the young guys. He's working with OHA, it's always been between the ages of 14 to 18. And obviously you have to start looking at players from the age of like almost 12. So he's always had a good eye at recognizing young talent.
Yeah.
So I've got complete faith. Moves he makes for the young guys, I know he's doing the right thing.
Yeah. And the news came out literally a few hours ago. I don't know how long before you knew, but Jordan Buesa, who was with Sheffield last season, he's joined you guys on a two-way. How big is that going to be, just adding that forward depth even more? And he's got a little bit more experience as well in this league.
Yeah, so obviously he was with the Steel Dogs last season, and he went clan full-time. Elite league experience. He's not too much older, but an older guy compared to some of us youngsters. So having that sort of just good experience. I know every time last season I saw him step on the ice, I had to keep an eye on him.
Yeah.
So having that sort of presence on the ice will always be good for us.
Yeah. For you yourself, for the people who, I guess, the new fans who don't really know too much about you, what kind of player are you? What kind of defenseman are you? And if there's any players in the NHL which you look up to, who are they? Sorry to put you on the spot.
I'd say hardworking. I like a good battle.
Yeah.
I wouldn't like to use the word offensive, but you found me in the crease this weekend just gone, so might have to throw that one in there.
Yeah.
But hardworking. I like to leave what I've got out on the ice.
Yeah.
Stay at home probably.
I'd say
more comfortable.
From watching you, me and Charlie have definitely said you're just a comfortable defenseman who doesn't panic. You don't play like you're 19 years old, and you just do all the simple things right. And I think that's so important for to get the rest of the guys playing at a good level.
I like that. Yeah, I like that.
We'll go with that. I wanted to go back to Kieran Brown because he is unstoppable. Like even against Swindon, he was quiet and then bang, he just scored a goal out of nowhere. Can you try and sum him up for us, because he's getting hat tricks every other game and he's just a joke, and I'm sure he's such a nice guy off the ice as well.
Yeah, he's great leader. You know, he lives in the apartment above me.
Yeah.
A bit of a pain sometimes. He's been bugging me to get the new Xbox so we can play FIFA together. But other than that, great leader. So humble. He's best player in the National League, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And he never brags about it at all, you know.
Really?
He never looks at anyone else and goes, I'm way better than this.
That's what you want as a captain, though, who's just motivates others.
He views everyone on the same level.
Yeah.
Such a motivator on the bench and just a great all-round guy.
Yeah. I have no doubt he'll probably get top goal scorer and point scorer again this season.
Yes.
Without a doubt. Who's your best buddy then at the Knights? I know you've mentioned a few players, but who's the guy you spend the most time with?
Since Bo's come in, I knew Bo Neely from OHA. My 3 years at OHA. He lived with Ollie during that time, but we spend. He's kind of warming up to everyone now.
Yeah.
But in the first few days, I spent quite a bit with him.
Yeah.
I don't want to say it, but it has to be Ollie, doesn't it?
Yeah, he mentioned you when we interviewed him a while ago.
It has to be Ollie. I don't know how long we've known each other, a bit too long, to be honest.
You've played all the same teams as well.
We've followed in the same sort of path all the way through.
Yeah.
And pretty much joined at the hip at this point.
Looking at the rest of the season then, did you have any targets going into this season, or was it just literally to replicate last season and go even further doing the treble?
Yeah, I think that was one of the things we looked back on and sort of wished we had got the treble. So I think this season we're not looking to sort of come into it like, oh, we'll win as many as we can, and if we don't, we don't. Yeah. We want to go back for everything again.
100%. And yeah, if we are not in those cup games, I'm definitely going to travel down and have a look or watch them on the stream, because it's so competitive this season. Like the level of the league has gone up, and I think that's good for you guys as well, because it gives you even more tougher opponents.
100%. We with the Fold and the Basingstoke and their players sort of spreading out.
Yeah.
The bees will start to look good. Great start to the season for the bees.
Mate, how's it trying to defend against Ballas? Because he's just popped off this season, isn't he?
He's a big guy, but I think this weekend I got the better of him.
Yeah.
With coming out with the win.
Yeah.
But he's it's weird seeing those sort of Basingstoke sort of the guys known for Basingstoke sort of spread out a bit.
Yeah.
But the league's definitely strengthened up a bit. So it's all games are a bit closer.
100%. And I just want to lastly finish it off. How is it traveling up? Oh, how far? You're not actually that far away from Solway, are you?
It's not too bad from Solway.
No, I think you guys are the closest to Solway. But how is it playing at a new stadium against a new team? And they until the last period, I'd say they give you a really solid game.
100%. We I don't think we were on form in the first 2 periods, but coming into the third, I think we sort of figured it out.
Yeah, he put the game to bed.
Yeah, decided to put it to bed. But with the introduction to Solway, I think it's great for the league, sort of spreading it out. It's the National League, and it was loads of teams down south and a few up north. Yeah. So I think spreading it out is really doing a good thing for the league. Yeah. But Scotland, I like a good iron brew, so I don't mind the trip.
Yeah. Lastly, just how good is it playing in front of the Leeds Knights fans? Because they are unbelievable, and it's very intimidating every time we go up there.
Best fans in the league. Win or lose, they're still coming to the games. They're still banging their drums, still screaming and shouting.
Yeah.
And like last season, I think every game in the second half of the season was sellout or 50 tickets off a sellout.
Yeah.
So just for them to rally behind us again this season's a great feeling.
Yeah. I appreciate you hopping on, Bailey. You've got that first goal now, pleasure. So I'm expecting a few more this season.
I think I got rid of all my sellies in that. I think I got rid of all my sellies in that one. Yeah. After that goal, I think I did about 8-1.
Hey, it was your first one. You may as well. Hey, I appreciate you hopping on, and we'll see you when you come down to Swindon. Oh, hopefully when our rink's back open down in Swindon.
Yeah, will do. Thanks for having me, guys.
Thank you. Hello, welcome back. Thank you so much, Bailey, for hopping on. I know he was busy this week, but he managed to fit it in. And an excellent interview, a really nice guy, and he's won it all at the age of 19, lads. So he's a dub already, Charlie.
Yeah, good lad, good D-man as well.
Really solid.
Good shutdown defenseman, does his job, and he's a classic Ryan Aldridge top young D-man. So fair play to him. He got his opportunity, he took his shot. And now he's got 2 medals around his neck, baby.
100%. He's got that first goal now. So, time to kick on and get some more goals, Bailey. Should we look at the fixtures then for this weekend? There's a few double headers, but we'll start with our team, the Swindon Wildcats. We've got a double away fixture again, starting with Peterborough away on the Saturday and Sheffield away on the Sunday. Charlie, would you be disappointed if we only come out this weekend with 2 points?
I'm an optimistic, annoying fan, so I like getting 4 points every weekend. No, I just want to, with Swindon, with the circumstances we're in, with the toughness of doing back-to-back away games, all I want to see is the boys put in 2 good performances. If that means we get 0 points, I'm happy. Yeah. I just don't want to see a Pitbulls where you play really good one night and you don't play great the other night. I want to see 2 solid, good performances. And Swindon, when they play good, they're most likely going to grab the 2 points. So this weekend, 2 good performances, and I'll be a happy chappy.
Yeah, Dan, do you see Swindon getting at least a win tonight? They were close against Peterborough. I actually thought we were the more dominant team in terms of creating chances, but Peterborough are just more deadly on the power play. So do you think Swindon have a chance of getting a 4 point this weekend?
I think more of a 2 point weekend is probably more realistic. I think Peterborough, they're on form at the moment. Peterborough are a really hard team to beat, especially in their rink.
Yeah.
I think you could pull it off against Sheffield.
Yeah.
And obviously, I think lack of training is the reason behind your like 1 game good, 1 game bad. Yeah. It's almost like you need that 1 game to sort of get into it.
We are quite inconsistent, I think.
And I think the lack of training is obviously none of your faults, but I think that's obviously one big factor of why you're so inconsistent at the moment.
Yeah, on the Saturday, it seems like some of the Saturdays we've literally played that game, prepared for the next game. It's almost given us that ice time ready for us to go on the Sunday. Let's look to the next one, the next doubleheader. This is a huge doubleheader. It's the Bristol Pitbulls against the Raiders, back-to-back on Saturday and Sunday. This is an absolute stonking weekend for both teams, isn't it, Charlie?
Yeah, I'm rooting for Tanner Butler. I don't know why. I really like him. I don't know why. I found... Do you know you pit players from other teams?
Yeah.
Go, I just love him.
We don't see many shutdown defensemen in this league.
Yeah, but he's a shutdown defenseman. He scores short-handed goals. He's mental. I really do think he's the real deal. I'll go out here now. I genuinely think he's the best D-man in this league.
Wow.
I really do highly rate him.
That's a big statement.
Back
to it then, Charlie. I think what do you reckon?
2 points each.
2 points each. Dan, how do you see this one going? Because Raiders need to start getting some wins on the board, don't they? They need to start clicking. Otherwise, they might go out of sight for the playoffs. I know it's early days, but they want to start clicking now, don't they?
Yeah, I see a 4 point weekend for the Bristol Pitbulls.
Wow.
I think they're gonna have a big weekend. I think after that Sunday, I think that they're going to be really annoyed. Obviously, I know they won't want to be losing by that much after such a good performance on the Saturday. They know they can do it. Mm-hmm. And I think they're going to come out firing against Romford both games.
And they've got their new import for this weekend as well. Oh. I love Max. I love Perre, but they got this new fresh import to come in. I think that's going to be a real buzz around the team. I think Bristol could get this 4 point weekend, but the Raiders, they need a bounce back, and they are at home. They're at home on the second day. So if Bristol can get a big win on the Saturday, you never know. A big game on the Saturday. MK are playing Telford. Telford will be looking for their revenge. And it's actually a very difficult weekend for Telford. I know we said Solway had a hard weekend, but Telford have got MK and Leeds away. Charlie, that could be that. No, in fact, that is the hardest weekend, isn't it?
Yeah, apart from maybe Leeds back-to-back away, I think they may be hard this weekend. Depends who you rate higher, Leeds or MK. That's a debate for another day. But if Telford get 1 point, I'd take my hat off to you.
Really? I never know. They've got their full team now. I think there could be a little upset. Dan, do you reckon Telford can get a cheeky win this weekend?
Yeah, I think they've definitely got it in it.
Yeah,
I think they could definitely get one win, or at least an overtime. I think they could get one to overtime, definitely.
But both MK and Leeds have both lost at home this season. It's not like they're unbeaten because we broke that streak. So, Telford, I'm rooting for you. I want this National League to be as tight as possible. And then another back-to-back is a Solway Seahawks special, and I can see Solway actually sneaking something from this. I'm not sure what's happened to Hull. They've dropped off a tiny bit of the last couple of weeks, Charlie.
Well, yeah, but when I looked at the Hull injuries, Bobby Chamberlain was day-to-day. So if Bobby Chamberlain's back for the weekend, I can see it being a 4-point weekend for the Seahawks.
Really? I think Solway are just starting bubbling up. I know they had a tricky weekend last week, but I think Solway will be buzzing going into this weekend, and they'll be looking to get 2 points, Dan.
Yeah, I think after that successful weekend that they had 2 weekends ago, I think they're just going to keep growing on that now. Now they've got that win under their belt. They know what to sort of aim for now.
Yeah.
It's obviously going to be a hard weekend. I don't think they're going to get a win out of the weekend, but I think you'll definitely see an improved performance from that team.
So Hull are going to come out fighting as well because they have lost the last 2 games. And if they want to stay near the top of the table, they need to start winning some games together because that's what the top teams do. And that's what Leeds have been doing in some of the games which they haven't played as well, which Aldridge said. The other games which I haven't mentioned, the Bees have got Sheffield on the Saturday. And then on the Sunday, the games I didn't mention, Peterborough have got MK at home, so that'll be a bit of a cracker. A derby as well, a rivalry. And then we mentioned Sheffield versus Swindon. Lads, have you got anything else to add other than make sure to follow our socials at Macca's Talk Hockey? Have you got anything to add, Charlie?
If anyone can, at us on Twitter and tell us the best food or best spots in New York to go.
Yeah, good point. If you've been to New York, at us, tell us some places we should go because we've never been there before. But yeah, let us know on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, whatever. Quickly looking at the table, the Leeds Knights are currently in first, but they've played a game more than MK. So if MK win their game in hand, they're both on 18 points. And then the Bees are third, Dan. Third place with the Bees. That's what we like to see. Telford are in fourth, and then the 3 teams outside of playoffs are Solway, Bristol, and Raiders. But it's all tight. I love it. The National League, this is probably one of the closest seasons we've had, Dan, where anyone can literally beat anyone. Would you agree?
Yeah, again, it's an annoying time to be a good guy with no team.
I do feel so bad for you, mate.
But at least I get to watch some good hockey.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you very much for tuning in to another podcast. Thank you again to Bailey Perre, and we'll see you next week. Peace.
Bye.
Bye.